Well, good afternoon. So, as you know, one of my favorite brands is the Motor Max, whether it be the American Graffiti or the Fresh Cherries. And I'm sort of Motor Max heavy recently because I was able to get a lot of cars, a grouping of cars in an auction. And so today I'm going to concentrate on the AMC versions that I was able to get. The 1974 AMC Hornet from Fresh Cherries, and these are a copyright 2005. And so I don't know how many Fresh Cherries I have in total, or even Motormax in total. I did show a bunch of them the other day. I have several Mustangs, Pintos, Mavericks, Mustang 2s, and I was happy to get these Hornet and this 74 AMC Gremlin. I was not able to find the AMC Pacer, which I know is very popular with a lot of folks over in Europe. Funny enough, people are nostalgic for that car now, but it was a big flop for the company. So let's give you a little history on American Motors Corporation, which was formed in 1954 as a merger between Nash and Hudson that was originally supposed to then include another merger with Packard and Studebaker that never happened. Studebaker eventually, Packard went out of business first, and then Studebaker lasted until 1966 or 67. An interesting tie in with Mercedes here. Studebaker was the official importer of all Mercedes in the 1960s. Mercedes didn't get their actual own dealership and import network in the United States until later. I think it was either 1968 or 1970. Just trivia, and there'll be a lot of little trivia here. So, American Motors Corporation formed in 1954 with their Rambler range and their their Metropolitan range. So Hot Wheels has that new Nash Metropolitan sort of fantasy car, that tiny little car. And the only AMCs I have really, well, that's not true. I was going to say are from the 1970s. But just to give you a rundown of some of the more popular models, of course, there's the Hornet, which was in production from 1970, believe it or not, until 1987, with a few updates and modifications. And if you're unaware, the AMC Hornet, which came out in 1970, changed their name, I believe, in 1978 or 79 to the AMC Concorde. And then the Concorde was modified it was the first American vehicle with a non-truck vehicle. It was the first crossover, the AMC Eagle. And everybody thinks of the AMC Eagle as the four-door station wagon. But you could get a two-door, four-door. You could even get the AMC Spirit and Camback. And the Gremlin was from 1974 until 1978 when it became the AMC Spirit. Just a little trivia there. Other names, very short-lived: Ambassador, Rebel, Matador from 1971 to 78. I will show two Matadors that I have. Marlin, AMX, which predated the Javelin. There was the AMX, which was the two-door sports car to compete with the Mustang and the Challenger and Camaro and so forth. And that was a two-door, two-seater. And then they came out with the Javelin AMX, and they actually had an AMX based on the Concorde or the Hornet AMX. I don't have any of those in diecast. I don't know if they make them. And American Motors Corporation had quite a few problems and so forth. But in 1979, they got a bailout. They were partially owned by Renault. And Renault had their own financial situations, and they sold their interest of American Motors to Chrysler in 1987, who renamed it the Eagle Division and then phased that out because, of course, at that point, the only thing everybody wanted from American Motors was the Jeep. Jeep, which was originally Kaiser Jeep, and the civilian version of Jeeps are in continuous production and sales from 1945 until now. And that has always been the crown jewel of anybody who partnered with Jeep. AMC wanted Jeep. Renault wanted the Jeep market. Chrysler wanted Jeep. Fiat bought Chrysler predominantly for the Jeep. And Stellantis, the merger between PSA, Citroën Peugeot, and Fiat Chrysler. Again, the biggest moneymaker in there is Jeep. But now, I've ranted on for 6.5 minutes. Let's take a look at some of these cars. We're going to start off with the Hornet. And trivia, the Hornet and the Gremlin, basically the Gremlin was just a Hornet with a section of the chassis. It was shortened down, but the front suspension, the engines, everything, they were the same. They were the same fundamentals, same engines, transmissions, dashboards, and so forth. So let's take a look at this casting. Again, because these are a pain, luckily I did pre-cut this. And the fresh cherries have the little trading card and the little miniature box there. So let's take a look at this. And these Motor Max fresh cherries and American Graffiti series are a near premium brand. So this is a very 70s burnt brown copper color. This is very nice. So lensed inserts for the taillights, chrome bumper there, metal base, metal body, screwed, rubber tires. These chrome wheel covers look near authentic. All the nice details. Now, there are no opening features, no opening doors, no opening hood, but inserted lensed headlights, chrome grille, a little tampo there for the logo. And let's see if we can get a picture of the interior. It's all black. And I can see some detail. It looks okay. I mean, having ridden in these cars, they weren't very fancy. But the first American company to use this type of door handle, which they actually do a pretty decent job of representing here. And I know because I lived through it. One of my cousins, my father's cousins, actually had a Gremlin, and my aunt had a Pacer. And they were goofy cars. Probably the best car AMC made was the Hornet and its variations over the years. I mean, when you consider that they were made for 17 years, they were probably, other than the Jeep, one of the longest running vehicles. And for those of you that are old enough to remember, the Hornet and the Matador X both appeared in James Bond's movie with the man with the golden gun. So this is a very nice representation. All the trim done around the windows and a very 70s color. I like this. This is nice. And we're going to, let's just check underneath here. It's a scale of 160. And, well, okay, so this I think says copyright 2006, although the package had a copyright of 2005, so So let's take the Gremlin out, and then I do have a couple of other castings I'll show. I teased that Jeep. Let's take a look at this Gremlin. So the Gremlin has a little bit better detail on the grille. It's painted. It's got turn indicators. You can see turn indicators here. Lensed inserts for the headlights. No opening hood. Nice painted details on the side. There's the Gremlin badge. Good wheel covers. The rear taillights look like they're inserted. Painted. The bumper. 1974 AMC, there's your fuel filler, your little wind deflector spoiler. And this blue is actually the color that my cousin Allison's was. And the Gremlin was American Motors Corporation answer to, or reply to, the VW Beetle, the Toyota Corolla, the Ford Pinto, the Chevy Vega. All right, so this one is a riveted base and scale of 160, so it's a little large. But while all of those vehicles had four cylinders, AMC at the time had no four-cylinder engines to offer. Those would come later with their cooperation with Renault. They didn't get their first 2.5 liter four-cylinder. Originally, they bought General Motors 2.5 liter four cylinders, but then they did design their own that was basically a four-cylinder based on their 4-liter inline six. Now, this is not that 4-liter. This is the earlier inline six. And the Gremlins were available either with a 6-cylinder or up to a 304 cubic inch V8. And they sounded like little trucks moving around, if you've ever heard a Gremlin going around. So I have these two, and for comparison, I think I've shown, I have the Johnny Lightning. This is the Hornet, and these are all painted details. This stripe is very accurate. The interior is on this because it's lighter, is easier to see. All painted details. And on this Hornet, no opening hood. The bumpers and such are molded in as opposed to the Motor Max. And this era of playing Mantis, so this is also around 2005, 1974. I'm sorry, 2002, playing Mantis. In this case, Johnny Lightning does better on the wheels, and of course both have rubber tires. And you'll see, yeah, the 160 versus 164. The scale is a little off. Let's compare. I'm very fortunate to have the Johnny Lightning, and both of these Johnny Lightnings are from the Praying Mantis era. But the Gremlin has the plastic tires with the Kreger wheels, but the Gremlin has the opening hood with the 304 V8, because of course this is the Gremlin X. And all painted details, metal body, metal base, plastic wheels, riveted, no inserted details. And again, the wheelbase is no, actually not too bad off. They're very close. So there we go. Hornet, Hornet, Gremlin, Gremlin. I'm going to pull out all of my AMC. This Matchbox Willys pickup, what year do they list this as? Just says, I guess it was on the outside of the package, but we all know that this is the Willys Jeep pickup. The quote-unquote dirty version. This is a mainline Matchbox. I actually believe I got this in a 5-pack. This Willys Jeep pickup was made from 1947 to 1965. Actually, before. AMC acquired Jeep in 1970. Here we go with the Hot Wheels version of the Jeepster Commando, excuse me. Let's see. Jeepster Commander. Oh no, Commando, right. So these vehicles were fairly short-lived, from 1966 to 1971. And then I quickly flashed my Hot Wheels Javelin AMX. And again, these were very short-lived. I think from 1968 till 1974. The most successful American motors were the Hornets and then the Gremlins. I also have these two nice Greenlight Matadors, a 1971 Matador police car from the Hot Pursuit series. And the Matadors were in production from 1971 until 1978, basically in two series. This earlier version from 1971 until 1974, and this would have been the intermediate full size. American Motors never actually made, I think they made the Ambassador, which was a slightly stretched Matador, but they only made that for one model year, I believe, or two. Unfortunately, it came out during the middle of the oil embargo, 73, 74. And it didn't sell well, so they killed it and they just stuck with the Matador. And so this is the 1974 Matador, 1974 to 1978. And what really helped AMC was the fact that the Los Angeles Police Department was one of the first to adopt these Matadors as police cars, and then based on theirs, I mean, this is Yonkers, New York, and the other one is Dallas. Now, growing up in New York City used many different types of police cars. They used Ford, GM, they used Chrysler, Dodge, and Plymouth. I don't ever recall seeing an AMC on the New York City Police Department. I can't claim to be an expert on that, but I did grow up in New York City and lived there for many years, and then lived very close to it. So while smaller departments like Yonkers did, and obviously large departments like Los Angeles, they just could not compete. And from 1978 on, basically it was just these are technically compact cars, the Hornets. And so here are my last two quote unquote AMC Jeeps in my collection. This green light from the Jamboree, and this is, I believe, a 1982 CJ7. Oh, hold on. 1982 Jeep CJ7. This is nice. And I remember these having the golden eagles on the hood. And for those old enough to remember, these were featured on the show Mork and Mindy, Robin Williams' first breakout role. And then from my Supernatural film screen tin collection, I have this green machine of the Jeep Wrangler. 1992 Jeep Wrangler. So this is sort of twofold. A little history of AMC. Renault had their controlling interest from they had a 46% ownership of American Motors, and at the time that gave them access to American Motors dealerships. So the Renault 5, which those in Europe would be familiar, was sold here for a few years in the United States as Le Car, because of course we're too lazy. And then the AMC Encore was a variation of the Renault 9 and Renault 11. And then later on, when Chrysler bought AMC, they still had an agreement with Renault, and they sold a car here as the Chrysler Medallion and Eagle Premier that was a Renault 21. And those were short-lived. And basically, when that partnership dissolved, is when we no longer saw Renault vehicles on U.S. roads. Renault has not sold vehicles in the United States since the Renault Le Car, I think, was the first one to, well, but that was the only one actually labeled a Renault. The others were either American Motors or Chrysler. And Peugeot also had stopped selling cars in the United States, I think 1983 or 1985. And neither of those brands have returned. Fiat was gone for many years. They came back. Alfa Romeo was gone for many years. They came back with the Fiat Chrysler merger. Now with the Citroën Peugeot PSA merger with FCA, Fiat Chrysler, to the new company Stellantis, we may see Renault and not Renault, Peugeot and Citroën on these shores. Citroën had actually pulled out. I believe they were the first one to pull out of the U.S. market. The Citroën DSM, I think, was the last Citroën the DS19, the Princess, the Goddess, had been sold in the United States from 1959, I think, until 1967 or 68. So many European brands pulled out not long after the oil embargo and fuel crisis because of stricter emissions, unleaded fuel, catalytic converters, because in the United States, catalytic converters were mandatory starting in 1975, I think. There was a grace period, but then the emission standards got tougher and tougher, and then the safety standards. That's why a lot of the UK brands, Triumph and MG, I mean, Jaguar always stayed, but the European brands could not keep up with these drastic changes over the years. And now we see the return of some. I mean, obviously, Mercedes, BMW, Volkswagen, those were bigger companies and they had the budgets and they could deal with headlight changes, emission safeties. Yeah. So now I'm rambling. It's 25 minutes, but Fresh Cherries, American Motors. I guess I will label this an American Motors rather than Fresh Cherries video. So like, subscribe, share, comment. Let me know what you think. I think I have one or two more Fresh Cherries in the pipeline. I'm running out of those. I don't have any more AMC or Jeeps. I do have some pretty cool stuff that I'll be showing off soon. I still have some cars that I have not shown from the holiday haul, Schuko and Mini GT and so forth. So thank you for watching. Have a great day, and I'll see you in a few days.